these a little bit. Let's maybe make a little bit of a plan today. So, today we're going to... Oh, let me check. I haven't checked anything. So, Restream thinks we're running. Okay, that's good. Twitch thinks we're running. That's also good. Messed around with the audio. I hope I didn't mess it up. YouTube thinks we're running. That is very good. Welcome to Code Hangout number 225. We're going to talk about rich puzzle rules. And by that, I mean rich formatting. Which used to be rich text format, RTF, back in the day. What is the formatting capability of RTF versus Markdown? Yeah, I think rich text is more like HTML. I don't know if rich text, even though the name has it in it, is worth supporting for us. Yeah. All right. So I have currently on beta a quick test with Markdown in rules, and it has a bunch of weaknesses. So currently I'm using the tiny Markdown parser because it's just a 1 kilobyte. It's 1 kilobyte of JavaScript, which is literally sitting in here somewhere. Where is it? Place Markdown links. Yeah. So it's this line. Where is it? Here. This one. So that's basically this Markdown parser. And I immediately noticed that it wasn't handling certain things very well, such as, asterisk is used. Like it would go across multiple lines. Like if you had an asterisk for example, if you had a bulleted list with asterisks, it would see it as this sort of inline italic style, right? So what I did was, for now, as a quick sort of workaround, I basically said let's go back into one line here. Make sure I didn't mess something up. I basically said, let me split the line by line breaks and then just parse each individual line. Now, this parser has a couple of options, including inline and inline block as a separate sort of parsing functionality. So I said, okay, let's only use the inline parser, which I thought... Well, which basically is supposed to say, okay, we're not worrying about multi-line things like lists or tables or anything like that, right? But it would still cross line boundaries and right now it still misformats things like a mathematical equation. And in fact, I'm gonna actually make that's part of the notes. So I want to figure out a couple of test cases that we want to set up. We probably, like this, it will not go into production. Probably what we'll do is we'll have the Markdown as a format specifier for the rule text. What I'm not sure yet is if I want to say, basically right now we'll have just rules, right? We'll have our object, and then rules, I think, is either a singular line or an array. And that's something else we're going to look at in the database, like what cases we have. So we have a couple of options, right? So we can either say we have rules and then rules format, and then here it'll be MD for now, right? That's one way of handling it. The other option is that we leave rules as it is, and then we'll have a new field called rules MD, for example, right, for Markdown. And then in the future, other ones, right? The problem with that is that, yes, we can say use our rules MD if it's available, and then basically go down the list by priority. The problem with that is that later on, if we have more than one format, for example, rules LaTeX or whatever, there isn't a good priority to define in the file. And I'm not sure if that's necessary. The other issue I have with that is that we might want to support different kinds of formatting on other fields that might not exist today, but I might want to add in the future, like description, flavor text, etc., right? So do I want to have multiple versions of every field in the future to kind of maintain the same style? Probably not, right? So we have three options. So let's do this. Current puzzle data format for rules. Right? So we have an object and that has a rule string in it. Let's just keep it to the simple format, right? Option A, multiple alternate fields. So then we can have rules. Let's multi-line it just so it's consistent. Rules and rules markdown. I'm just gonna make it long right now just for illustration purpose, but it'll probably just be MD, right? Cool. So let's write something on some prose. Backward compatible. Backward compatible, easy to use, supports use and understand. I think this is simple to understand. Supports so it supports fallback, so we can say, okay, we do both. If some other system doesn't support this, you know, they can provide a pre-formatted text-only version of the rules, right? Which, if we put a format identifier in there, it wouldn't work, right? Cons, not extend or not easily extendable to other fields in the future, right? Let's pointify these, and it's also let's see, what was I gonna say before? Increases data size if backwards compatibility is needed. And this is specifically problematic for secondary formats like fpuzzles, for example, right? A lot of data is stored as fpuzzles, not permanently converted to SCF format. So suddenly, like, even the fpuzzle data that goes to other platforms, you know, that goes to any other tool other than SudokuPad, would all suddenly have this redundant additional data in there, which is not the worst thing because there's already stuff there that's SudokuPad specific, I guess. And there was the other thing, which was actually, I'm not sure. I think maybe I'm thinking about the next option, right? So then we have option B, same field, new format specifier, right? And that looks something like, we'll have rules, and then we'll have something like this. Rules format MD, right? And then here, and maybe we'll probably indent these under the options. Here we go. Pros are easily extendable to other fields. Now, one of the cons would be all fields would have to be same format. So that's the other thing, unless we go into rules format, and that's the thing, right? Rules format, yeah, so that's the other thing, right? Do we then say rules format for each field separately? You know, backwards compatible if only if the unparsed text makes sense. So it'll be backwards compatible probably mostly for something like Markdown, but not really for LaTeX or anything more complex, right? no clean backwards compatible data for other apps, right? Yeah, so those were the two sort of main ways of doing it. Another way of doing it would be, so I'm now thinking, okay, we could have something where we have some new data sys set up, but anything we add that doesn't simply have a string as rules will never be backwards compatible unless the string as rules still gets added, right? Because the other option would then be option C, keep field or compat, add new custom system. Right. So what I mean by custom system is that instead of trying to just add on like a small thing, we could have rules, and now we have kind of rich rules or whatever for rules 2, right? And that'll be data, which could be anything, doesn't necessarily have to be a string, right? Format MD, right? So it could be something like this. Right? Pros, backward compatibility as before. Pros, freedom on how to specify format. Now that one is basically is only useful if I need a lot of freedom, right? Oops. Which maybe doesn't make sense. Let's see. Cons, obviously, extra data for compat. New format may need to change again. Versioning, subformats, complexity. Yeah, so the problem with that is that now what I'm gonna say, rules, you know, format, but like maybe this must be MD1, you know, and then in the future there might be an MD2, etc., right? Like then we suddenly need versioning to make sure as things change. I don't know, right? We had a little bit of a discussion. Sorry if I'm putting my hand in front of the microphone, it sounds weird. Let me have a quick look what rank said on that. We were talking about the pencil marking. Auto clear, no, that's the auto clear stuff. Auto clear, markdown feature is great. Agree should be opt in. I don't think implementing B with should be raw regex should be difficult. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, so that's yeah. Format data options. That's our format data options. The other thing I want to look at is I don't want to implement anything other than Markdown at the moment, but I want to keep an eye out for the possibility, maybe a subset of HTML. You know, maybe people are comfortable with just putting a B tag in there. Whoops. Like this, right? The other thing is that true formatting like this cannot be correctly parsed with regexes, which is probably why this guy fails, because it's probably doing this with regexes. Let's have a quick look at the unminified code here, and just to see. Yeah, it's all regexing it basically. Yeah, and I'm wondering if it basically does what I did in... I did this somewhere... Excuse me, I don't remember what for, but I basically used regexes to split the text into parsable, unparsable parts. Then the unparsable parts became identifiers, and then those identifier later were basically replaced again to put the sort of unparsable parts back in. And now I'm trying to remember what I used, where I used that. Is that in the fpuzzles parser? Where would I have done that? It sounds horrible now. Okay, I don't even know if that's in Sudoku Pack. Maybe I'm thinking of something else here. But you're basically using regex as in your tokenizing step. You kind of sort of tokenize it, and then you sort of kind of handle the tokens separately. But you have sort of macroscopic tokens, right? The other thing I was looking at is something like this. So, you know, I haven't really looked into it yet. I don't even know if this is as good. But it's definitely bigger, right? So, for example, something like this. Let's see if they have a build step in browser marked. Did I download this already? No. Let's grab that quickly. Just to see if there's like a build step. Install. I don't want to install it. I want to actually build it. Is there a build? A build demo installation uses specs tools. Specs. We actively support it. Yeah, so this is basically what I was thinking. It's like, okay, Markdown is already maybe not the most well-specified standard. And I probably want to support a subset of Markdown with the option of extending it in the future. So the question is... the question is... How... Okay, there's a... So, run... npm I. Let's just see if it needs some npm installing. Basically, how big is it? Like, I don't want to put 60k of the standards accurate Markdown parser in there. Can I break it down and use just parts of it? Or am I better off starting from scratch, building something very simple? But I have tried these sorts of things before, and it seems simple. And then the moment you're trying to parse text with regexes, you're kind of already doing the wrong thing. Let's see if the build works. All right, it's combining stuff. It did some sort of thing. There's a lib folder. Yeah, so we have a couple of files in here. Let's see if these are what we're... Why am I seeing 5 files here and 3 files here? The ESM files seem to be filtered out. What? 1 second. Sublime file filter. Why? View sidebar. View. Sidebar. 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 Hide open files. Show. Project. Settings. Settings. Oh geez. I'm gonna have to make this a bit smaller. Am I filtering out ESM files here somewhere? Binary file patterns. What files are missing? ESM, right? 1 second. Sublime hides ESM files. What's going on here? Yeah, how do I show hidden files? Find exclude patterns. File exclude patterns. Geesh. Well, it doesn't seem to be here. Why would it not show something like PSD? What the heck? Why would that be an exclude pattern? I don't even know why that's in here. That's so weird. There we go. Why? That doesn't make any freaking sense. All right, mystery solved. Somebody didn't like ESM files and that's made it into some sort of default. Let me know if the chat is working. I'm not seeing anything, any pings. So, yeah, you see, this is a full-on tokenizer, and it's like properly built, which is how it should be, but we don't want to download this into everybody's browser, obviously. Where is the folder that I just had open? Can I? Here. So mark.d.ts is not minified. So wait a second. Is the build process not the full process here? Build types lint rules text build lib public test lib rimraf lib public es build. Maybe it's this one. Oops. I haven't worked with ES build. That do anything? Do we have public now? Nope. Run build man. Types. Rules test. I'm not seeing public here. Publishing. Security, advanced usage. Extension, extensibility. Priority testing. Installation. Okay. This I'm already doing somewhat. Probably I can do a better job still. We've had issues with that before. Okay. Interesting. Where is the build? List of tools using marked. 0MD, a native markdown to HTML web component to load, display an external MD file. Uses marked to superfast marked transformation. Strap down. This might actually be helpful because these secondary tools that use marked might show how their build process, how they're including marked, right? How they're building a minified version of marked and so on and so forth. Like how big do these things or how small do these things go? Marked into HTML web component based on custom elements with one spec load display an external MD file under the hood. It uses marked for marked transformation, just for highlighting. Yeah, okay, this seems like it has everything in there. How big is this? Load the CDN. Okay, so let's just see how big the CDN is. It doesn't look massive. 3.4. Does that really use mark? Like, I'm looking something that's trying to be small, and then I see stuff like this, which seems like most of the spacing here. And event listeners, like, no, I don't want this to be handling events. That seems weird. Under the hood is used by. So the question is, how does it load marked? Like, does it build marked into it? Or does it load marked externally? Because then that would explain the small size, right? If it's still loading marked on top. So, is there a demo page? Read the docs, open issue, playwright. Check out the releases page. Is there a demo page? Is there a demo page? Baked in features. So I don't really want to go down this route. I just want to see how it includes marked. So 0MD from 0MD. Yeah, it's using it's relying on also packaging and building and all that stuff that I'm not really interested in. Can I get a demo page that uses 0MD? 0MD docs. Do we have demos here? Advanced usage, getting started. No demo. Well, we do have a demo page from Mark directly. Examples. Here we go. The problem is it loads so much stuff. It's actually kind of hard to figure out what's needed and what isn't. In fact, it doesn't even work. All right, let's look at the demo for marked. That was over here, I believe. Nope, it was maybe here. No, maybe here. It was here. All right, let's bring that over here. Let's reload this page. So that's loading in marked. How big is that? 13K. Now 13K is more stomachable, but it's still a lot. I have like quite a few of these sort of 10 to 15K external libraries that I'm using and that I barely use, right? So the 1K of the other one is of the tiny parser is obviously very interesting. So we have a couple of options. This includes to keep looking for something that's more standards compliant but smaller. To see if we can improve the tiny markdown parser or just to start from scratch. So it includes a bunch of stuff. And if I'm already doing my link handling up myself. And in the future, I would like to include lists for sure. Tables probably not for yet at least. But basically these three styles. So underscore, underline, strike through, deleted. And I don't even actually care about these. Underline might be interesting, but strike through and even strike through maybe if somebody is modifying rules or something new. Now, what I would like to be able to do is to separate asterisk used like this versus an asterisk used as a multiplication symbol. So I'm curious if by expecting no space next to the symbol, that should work, or by saying that, well, I can't really look for letters or numbers because obviously you might want to italicize numbers just the same. I'm just looking where ranks. Yeah, he posted like a markdown standard type thing. Yeah, I'm definitely not like supporting the bigger structural stuff for now. Headings, although, might actually be interesting, at least some of them. And for example, I don't necessarily want to support secondary syntax, especially multi-line syntax, so I'll probably just do this. And probably not as big as these, so the styling has to be very, maybe you're like only 2-3 levels. So there's a lot of sort of specific subsection of formatting that I want to support, which I don't think is going to be a big problem. And I don't necessarily want to support what's the word? Don't do this. Markdown applications don't agree on how to handle underscores in the middle of a word. So we use asterisks to size in the middle of words for emphasis. Yeah, maybe I'll don't even support the underscore format just to keep things simpler. And he said there's a backtick escape mechanism as well. Escape. Use code in your markdown file. Use code. You want to denote code includes one or more backticks. You can escape it by enclosing the word. If the word or phrase you want to denote as code includes one or more backticks, you can escape it by enclosing the word for double backticks. Okay, but there must be other escaping rules. To display a literal character that would otherwise be used to form a text marker, add a backslash in front of the character. And then double backslash would just be a backslash, right? And if I look at bold, like I'm seeking, because there are different markdown standards, right? Let's go back to this one. I think it listed which standards it supported. Was it marked, or was it 0MD that's listed the specific standards it supported? Which wouldn't make sense, because you'd think that marked would have that. Ah, here we go. So we've got GitHub flavored markdown, entity and numeric character references, markdown flavors. Oh, wait. Oh my god. Yeah, see, this it's kind of a big rabbit hole, so I don't want to go all that way down. Hey GDC, how are you? Well, don't get too excited, because the first version will probably be very limited for these reasons. Probably in the future, I will do it with server-side processing, where kind of like what Google does with the file formats for their videos, I'll do it with Markdown, because on the server, I can have a more thorough implementation of the parser. And then I can just pre-process. So when a puzzle gets published, it will process the formatted Markdown. I feel so many different ways about this right now, because I'm pretty sure I've worked on a Markdown and parser in the past. The problem is right now I don't recall where and when. It might have been for my card game. Like I'm completely blanking. It could have been a long time ago. Then I'm thinking, do I want to start with the source of this? Or is it just gonna slow me down? Like, is there something in here that's smart that I should be looking at? Or am I better off starting from scratch and then making my own decisions, right? I think the other thing I want to do is I want to come up with a set of tests that I want my system to support, right? So probably we want to do this first. So we want to do the Sudoku pad, markdown labor, right? So what do we want to support? And I think mostly bold, italic, and a couple of the other items. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to do kind of headings, but I'm not sure if I want to work on that at the moment. Where did I look at that before? Yeah, so we probably want to do something like this. So, early support, later support. Right, so we want to have inline styles only, and probably only these three, and maybe underline. For some reason I keep thinking that underline should be underscore. I have this weird feeling that it used to be that. Markdown Docker installation specs. Common flavor, Markdown 1.0. What is the simplest, most popular flavor of Markdown? Like, maybe I should pick a style and go by that. Actually, this is the sort of thing I was hoping for an AI summary. Oh my god. Yeah, so for example, if I could have a comparison like this, but limited to the features that I care about. Like, I don't care about superscript and subscript and all that stuff at the moment. And these are all like fancier things. Like where's bold in it? You know, I guess it's presumed that those are more or less the same. Do we not have a AI summary of this sort of thing? That's the sort of thing I want an AI summary for. Is GitHub flavored markdown device for use of GitHub for marking README files? All right, I mean, that kind of sort of makes sense since a lot of us are programmers, and GitHub flavored markdown is a simple thing to reference, and I can just say, okay, that's the format we're going for. Obviously, it'll be only partial support because I'm pretty sure GitHub flavored markdown will be very fully featured. How about simplest flavor of markdown? The simplest flavor of markdown is the original plain markdown, which is designed to be minimalist and easy to read. Yes, because that's already more than I want. Close to markdown within a strict basis, a little bit avoids nonsense success to ensure. So, for example, why would I care about common mark? So difference between common mark and original markdown. Like, is that just a more specific specification? Don't understand the rest unambiguous risk with markdown syntax, aiming to resolve because it's ambiguity present in John Gruber's original markdown. Okay, so that's what I figure. First, leading to various flavor, lacking a formal specification. Yeah. Fenced code blocks and effective tills were widely adopted, but unofficial existence in many markdown implementation primarily relied on indented code blocks. Yes. Okay, so I think maybe common mark would be worthwhile to look at. So it's this one. There was an API for markdown rendering if you want to check. Yeah, I don't think I'll care about that. I'll definitely want to do that in-house. And I don't there's no way I'm gonna go very complex. Like, I'm not gonna put a big code load on this. If anything, I'll eventually do server-side rendering and cache the output rules, HTML version of the rules, right? So, we have 0.31.2 versions. That is not giving me a lot of hope that it's very specific. What is markdown? Yeah, I know what markdown is. Why is this special? Does not specify syntax. There are some examples of questions it does not answer. How much is needed for a sublist? The spec says that continuation paragraphs need to be indented for spaces. What is it about sublists? It's a natural that they too must be indented for, but markdown PL does not require that. This is hardly a corner case, and they're often surprised for users in real documents. Okay. Line 9 before quote block or heading. Most languages do not require the blank line. No, this can be done with result hard wrap text and parsing. Okay. So what does the specification look like? It's probably gonna be super formal, right? Tabs and lines are not expanded to space. Are in context where spaces help to define programs if they were replaced by spaces. Tabs of 4 characters can be used instead of 4 spaces in encode block. Note, however, that internal tabs are passed through literal tabs and transfer spaces. God. Yeah, 4 spaces indentation has never made sense to me. All right, so here it seems to be looking at corner cases or examples of specific things. Insecure characters. For security, the Unicode character must be replaced with a replacement character. Okay. Any aspect of the character may be /escaped. Because that's the other problem, right? Like, I don't want them to be able to pass HTML through. And right now I'm trying to filter that out. But if I have various escape mechanisms that I include, suddenly you can escape HTML and it might pass through some layers of filtering, right? And suddenly the HTML-ified version of the markdown, yeah, it'll probably have to be a 2-step process, which is also maybe not possible. So I gotta be very careful here. All right. So I might not even be able to support escaping for that reason, which is, you know, might be problematic. Where is, like, I'm still wondering about things like the asterisks, like accepting spaces in front of behind. Actually, let's have a look at the regexes, because this is using regexes, right? So for example, if we look at Um, inline media, inline code block. No, no, no. Inject inline block. Inline block. No. Inline. Here we go. So, asterisk or underscore 1, 2, 3, followed by a character or line break. Yeah, so here it doesn't make any requirements, and it doesn't seem to care about what is surrounded and where it is and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, so this is not really suitable for me. Maybe what I should do is I should start with these 3 and then take it from there. Because you can already, like with a bold piece of text, you can already do half of what people need to do, right? So, and this is a question I'm scared to ask because I know the answer is, whatever the answer is, it's going to be wrong. But let's see what other people have done. Parsing markdown via regex. Because the answer is don't do it. It's incorrect, right? How it works. So the problem is if it's as a tutorial or as a teaching tool, I'm already wary about it because it's really teaching something you should be doing. You cannot parse with regexes. It's just fundamentally mathematically impossible. Just because of the way it works out, right? So, oh man, I'm trying to remember where I did it, because the idea is to break the item into parsable and unparsable elements and then operate on those separately, and it'll make your life a lot easier. But it's basically a tokenizer, right? You can tokenize with regexes, and then you can operate on the tokens. And now I'm trying to think, when did I last build a tokenized parser? And the answer might still be for my card game, which I might not even have the code on this computer. Yeah, that's how long ago I've worked on that stuff. Like, except what was I tokenizing at the time? I think it was a language I had built for defining the effects of the cards. Yeah, I haven't touched it since I moved to this computer, so it probably won't be here. We do have the finite state machine here. Is there anything else I played with later than that? I'm furiously trying to figure out if I've used it in relation to Sudoku puzzles, and I do not think so, because I don't think that's ever been useful or necessary. Because even the rules text parser is purely regex based. Like it's a mess, but it's a controlled mess that doesn't really work. So there's so much stuff. Trying to think where I might have done this. Yeah, so it's older than what I have here. All right, let's see. Here we're looking. All right, so the idea would be to say we have a... Because I'm looking at this right now, and here I think it's fair to expect that there's no spaces, no white space on the inside, because it does make sense to bold the inside, right? So we need a regular expression, and let's have a I think it's regexer. Let's have a quick poke at that, right? Let's see. Do we have markdown test cases? Markdown tests. Can we test MD? If I look at this, okay. Now the question also would be, can I mix, like, have a fully marked down file like this, and only parse the part of it that I support without it messing up the rest? right? So for example, okay, let's have a look at this, right? And then let's see, can we mark or parse something that is, so we want an asterisk. So we're escaping an asterisk, followed by a non-white space, right? Followed by, and that's now the question is, we need to be able to nest these, but I don't think we ever need to be able to nest two of the same type. So we never need to nest double asterisks inside non-double asterisk, for example, right? So we need this preceded by a non-asterisk character. So we need to say the previous letter is an asterisk. Previous letter is capture group error equals negated set matches. So it finds the double asterisk, but if I say not equal, wait a second. So if I say dot and I say one dot preceded by an asterisk. All right. And if I say instead of a dot, it's an asterisk itself, it shouldn't touch this. Matches a asterisk. Positive look ahead. Matches a group after the main. So we want to look behind. Matches a group before the main without including it in the result. The positive look around feature may not be super in all browsers. Yeah, okay. So followed by. So now we're saying we want an asterisk. So why does it fit the single asterisk? Because we're saying not. Okay. But now we also need to know that it isn't followed by an asterisk, right? So we need to say not followed by an asterisk. Or more accurately, followed by a oh no, followed by not white space or asterisk, like that. Negative look answer. Yeah, okay, that's fine. We have the warning. So now we're saying we want a single asterisk followed by blah 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 blah. Right. Now we want to be able to have double asterisks in there, but not single asterisks. Right. So followed by how is nesting in Markdown? How is the nesting handled? And that's the thing. That's where a parser can handle it, but a regex really struggles, right? Because I'm thinking, like, at this point, I kind of want to be able to allow a bolded word inside an emphasis word, but I'm okay to disallow an emphasis word inside a bolded word string inside an emphasis string, right? It's like you don't want to double nest, which means I want to say, okay, after having a not space and not asterisk character, because if it was an asterisk character, then we'd have a double asterisk, right? We need a singular asterisk. In fact, if I put the bracket out here, and then I put a not asterisk here, does that match any singular asterisk? So it says specify a group that cannot match before the main expression. Matches a thing, specify a group that cannot match after the main expression. So this should match every singular asterisk, but it shouldn't match this. Yeah. So we do every singular asterisk followed by it can't be this, but it also can't be white space. So let's get rid of all of these in here. All right. But you see, it will try to bolt between this and this, perhaps. In fact, how is this being handled? This is the sample text, right? Where did I just pull that from? Let's bring that over here. So this, I pulled this from down here somewhere, right? Yeah. So how does it know to not parse it? It's because of the escaping with the single quotes, but I prefer not to rely on it. So one of the problems I already have is that there's no way to know that this is not supposed to be emphasis, right? And they're kind of using the double backticks almost like an escape mechanism, even though it's not actually escaping it, it's turning into an inline code block. So we'll probably need to include inline code blocks. Okay, but I also know that if I put spaces around it, between the asterisks and the thing, then it wouldn't be formatted. But yeah, I'm realizing, so for example, if I don't have the backticks here as a feature, there's no way that it doesn't know I don't want to emphasize this string between this asterisk and this asterisk. And then again, with a regular expression, you can't really do that. All right, let's see what. So now we know that the string is starting not with a space. We have a singular asterisk. Now we want to have, yeah. And I think what we could also do is we could parse in multiple steps, right? So we could say, okay, let's find every string that doesn't nest something else in it. So any marked string that doesn't have an asterisk inside, right? So then we will find the innermost one. And then we can parse it and substitute it with a symbol, right? So we parse this out, we'll put it aside, we replace it with an ID, and then we repeat the process until everything is replaced with IDs, right? And then we replace those with the actual end result, right? I think that's one of the ways I've done it in the past, because saying, okay, I want to exclude this part, it's going to be super tricky, right? But can I find the innermost string first? So we probably want to have like a sample. So we want to have something like this, outer, inner string, right? So this is kind of the example. So I want to be able to say, basically we want to have not space, not s, and now we can simply say, we can actually get rid of this part. We want to say not that, any number of those, more than one, right? Because we cannot have a zero length string, because then we really have a double asterisk, right? We want to have more than one, not an asterisk, which doesn't seem to be, that's not in the set, which shouldn't match the, oh, but because it matches and then starts the next one, right? And then followed by something kind of like that. Well, so we don't want to include that, and then we want to do this again, followed by the literal asterisk, right? But not followed by another literal asterisk, like that, right? So it'll get us this string with the asterisks wrapped in asterisks, this string, but it doesn't get us this one. Let's invert it right now, because we're doing the single ones first. So right, and then we'll be, we could also, just to try it, outer 1, outer 2, string done singular, right? So it'll find us the inner one, but it doesn't find us the outer one. So the idea is you would do a pass, and you obviously wouldn't just find this one, you should find as many as you can, but any string that doesn't have anything inside, you substitute them, then you do it again, etc., etc. So I'm gonna have to build a little bit of infrastructure for me to actually do that, right? So let us start a separate folder. I'm just gonna call this something like we're gonna just go mkdir sudoku pad mark sudoku pad md, right? I'm gonna hate having to type this multiple times. I'm gonna just make a source folder. We're gonna create a file. Right. And now we're gonna just open that file. Actually, can I just drag that folder on there? In here? Boom. Right? So we're gonna say something like const test md1. We'll just do something like this. Can I gonna have to escape all of these guys. I'm gonna leave them in for now because we're gonna use them later. But I'm not using them right now. Right. And then we'll have a little function here. So if I don't want to click there. If I run this, we can bun this. Wait, what is our bun version? Okay. I thought I bun install. Install bun in WSL. All right, it's always no. You know what? I'm sure I've had bun installed. What the heck? If maybe I have a bun version manager. Maybe I have a BVM or something. Maybe that's why I can't find it directly. BVM. Is it problem feature resolved? What's the problem? Version bun grows. Is more version coming up? Blah blah blah. Would be very nice. Bun like to have a built-in every version I've worked with orange complete. Yada yada yada. Bun version. What is ASDF? Bun dash version. Apt sudo apt install bun. Nope. Bun docs. Mac Linux curl. npm install dash bun. Maybe it's because I have my node under version management, so it got removed when I upgraded node itself, maybe. Okay. Well, it's supposed to be fast and just work. Okay. Good enough. So now we can start doing some parse tests here. So we'll just say function test parse md console log. So, we'll just do something simple like that. And then we'll just do this. Well, for now, we're just going to call it same thing, right? But we're now going to apply something like this. So it's going to be something like const re1. We'll just do this, and then we'll just say re1.match md txt or string. Just do that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Need that. All right. Type error. Yeah, I think it's the other way around. Boom. Okay. So this gives us the matched text. And we want all of them, right? So we'll just do something like this. Node iterate over match over regex matches. I think we need to do a little iteration loop there with exec, right? So we kind of actually want to do something like this. Something like this. Like that. I don't know if we need to reset them somehow. I think it might have to be global. Does this have to be global? Okay. So, we'll probably want to do match.index, match. I'm trying to see if this is the two elements, 1 and 2. 1 being the total match, and sorry, 1 being the match inside the our thingies. Okay. Let's do something like this. Match. Right. If I do this. Match. Oh, how did I manage to flip these twice? Okay. So match at number 42. And it currently does cross line boundaries, which I probably want to avoid going forward. Both for constraint names always appear in the beginning of the line, underline for persistent constraints, maybe. Global flag. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if this is visible enough. Let me move this. Because right now I think it's off the bottom of the screen. Yeah, let's make this bigger because we're going to be running a lot in here. In fact, I'm tempted to just put a watch on it so it auto runs. Can I do bun watch? Bun watch. So can I do bun dash dash watch? So if I save this, it'll just rerun. Okay. Okay. So it finds this thing and that thing. Okay, so probably gonna have to do some specifications in here. So it's not just no asterisks, it's a no. So we want to generalize this, right? We want to say, okay, which character are we looking for? So in this case, asterisk. We want to exclude that character from the inside, and we want to also exclude line breaks. Now that might be a problem because people might be manually line breaking it, but this is not meant to be used for that. So for now, I'm just going to see if I can just exclude this, and it finds this, and it finds inner. Cool. So now we want a mechanism that basically creates a list of these matches and replace, like, generates IDs, right? And then substitutes them into the thing. And the IDs need to be some sort of format that doesn't clash with the rest, right? And for now, we'll probably just triple ats or whatever, right? So, now we're gonna do const substitutions. And we're just gonna do this. No, we're just gonna make an array, right? And we want to substitute these things in the original string. Right. Now, the match, let me just, I'll put the raw data of the match again. The match gets us an index, and it gets us the length from the match one, right? So, const index, 1 colon str smash. Does that work? Can I do that? I probably shouldn't. This feels like I shouldn't. No, I can do this. Okay. And in fact, we can just do that here. But we'll probably want to do match. We probably want to do. For now, we're actually gonna do this. And we're just gonna do that. And just do that. Next match. Unexpected. Enrolled assignment target. Okay. Can I just do let here? But found. Expected. Right. Just gonna do this. Gonna go back to this. Index undefined. Why does it not work? True. Am I missing an extra set of braces? Okay. Here we go. If we get rid of this... Actually, no, we can just do this, right? That gets us the whole thing. Right. So, the second thing we want to do is... we want to do this, substring index 10. If I do this... Index... Let's just say IX. And you know what? I'm gonna swap these. I know I'm being inconsistent here. It bugs me too. But we're gonna make the short stuff the stuff we're working with every time. Match. There we go. Right. So, substring, is that the right thing? Probably not. Substring is deprecated. Substring starts there at X long. All right, substring. That gets us IDX is undefined because I renamed it, but I didn't reassign it. Okay, here we go. So this is obviously not right. Substring 1.3. As return parser, start index up to the excluding the end index. Okay, no. Do we want to use slice then? Slice. New string without modifying the original slice. So if I do slice. Slice starts. Success of the string returns. It is a new string without modifying the original string. Index start, index end. Alright, whatever. We'll do that. Here we go. And that should be plus m.length. Boom. So that gets us this. Right. Okay. So that means, do we want to do one pass of substitutions? Right. So we can just say substitutions dot push idxm. Then we can do this, right? And then we can do for off or let idxm off substitutions. We'll have these two, right? And then we can say that str2 equals boom. We can do str2 equals str2 dot slice, no, dot replace splice. There's a splice, right? Splice. No, yeah, so we kind of want to break the string into bits around the thing and before and after, yada yada, right? So we need to get we want to go for each item, we want to include the thing before the item, right? So we'll do this, pos equals 0, right? So now we want to say, what is the item before this? So we want to say, get rid of this for a sec. We'll do str2 dot slice pause idx. Pause idx 0255. So it gets us up to the item. Yeah. And then we'll do res equals array. We'll do res dot push this, and we'll actually do for let I equals 0 and dot length I plus plus, right? And then we'll just say that equals substitutions I. Yeah, and this sort of thing is part of the reason why I was wary of doing it, because it's like, it's not really complex, and maybe I should just ask ChatGPT to build this, but it's simple but tricky, so I wouldn't trust it to get it right necessarily. So we'll just say res.push this, and then res.push, and for now let's save this separately. Wait. Let's do this. Let's do 0 here. And then let's just remove most of this for now and just have this line just to get us started, right? So we're gonna push this part in only for now. Substitutions, boom. Right, and then we'll add a something like this at a string that later on will be retrievable, right? And then we'll put res here. Yeah, so basically we should now end up with the text before our match, a value that references the match, and then at the end, the rest, the text after the match, right? Except that's obviously not correct. So we'll start with this. We want to see the full string. Just going to do this, right? So we get the bit before up to the thing. Then we get that bit, and now we want to do this again. So let's add this ahead of our test string like that. So we have nothing there, fine. Then we have our first. Then we have this, which is our substitution. So we actually want to skip that, right? So now we want to say pause plus equals m dot length, right? So we have 0, 0 with no string. Then we have the second one now starts at the right spot, which is, so we want to, yeah. So that includes this. This is our pre-string before this one. And then at the very end, we want the final, the rest of it, right? So then we want to add that, and IDX is actually let's call it just str for now. str.length, right? And that should get us all the way to the end of done. And now if we output this join together, we should have a substitution of 0 here and of 1 here. And that extra 1 outer to, yeah, so this happened twice. Pause plus length, because these two are correct, but then we're still at that 1 here. Because we want to skip past the length of the match, which is what we're doing here. All right, cancel. Let's see, last bit. What does the last bit actually look like? Is string.length the right thing to use here? Ah, no, wait, what? Pause? No. Oh, okay, wait. This is the bit before. Yeah, we need to add not just the length, we also need to add... No, pause becomes index plus length. Right? So the last bit is string done with the space. And now we have 0, 1, and this exactly replaces this bit, right? So now the idea is that if we do this again, we should now be able to handle the double asterisk bits as well. Now, can we do this with a single regular expression? So this could be, you know, the thing is we want to match the right number, so we don't want to match 1 versus 2. So we probably want to have a separate set of these. Let us nest multiple single things here, which will be more confusing, right? But it should work. So this should get us... no, it won't work because it'll do this. Except, wait a second, should it not ignore this? It'll go from here to here? So the first match is this, the second match is this. But we're not supposed to have spaces on the inside. Oh, I didn't add that. So we're not supposed to have white space on the left here. So we don't want to have left not white space, right? Not left. So now it doesn't match any of them. Let's have regexer explain this to us again. If I do this, it says negative look ahead. No, it should be negative look behind. Negative look behind that cannot match before the main expression. If it matches, the result is discarded. Yeah. So I had it right the other time, but it doesn't like that. Invalid quantifier. Oh, I don't know, I have a question mark here. Oh, because that goes here. Right? So now it grabs this. Why does it grab this? Why does it not grab this? Let's do this, and let's try this test string here. So it doesn't grab that first bit. Let's get rid of this for now. Don't need that. We'll probably break the string into separate lines and then parse them independently. Because I feel like this should match this first asterisk. And then we don't... Let's ignore this for a sec here. Why does it do this? Oh, wait, there's got to be backslash s. Ah, yeah, okay. It's got to be backslash s, not just s. Here we go. So now we're hitting single asterisks and we're hitting inner, and it works. And then once we have the substitution done, we should be able to do this again. Right. And we should be able to call this iteratively, right? So, if I do this, so if I take this text and the substitutions, I should be able to reproduce the original one, right? I know this gets replaced by this, and this, the second one gets replaced by that. Okay. So then what we really want to output is, let's call these matches for now, so I don't confuse myself. So these are matches, right? And then the substitutions actually become these things, right? Subs equals this. And then we'll just say subs I equals M. So matches, subs, res, and join. So we now have this. So 0 is that, 1 is that. And with this and this string, we can reproduce the original. Okay. So function get subs, and that'll be str subs, which starts out as an empty array, and it'll basically is this, right? And now this would be str. We don't actually need this anymore. Subs gets passed in. We now don't assign it like this. The eyes aren't actually these. The eyes become the size of the subs, right? So the eyes becomes subs.length. So it'll start out as 0. And then this will be subs.push m, right? And then at the end, we output two things. Return res.join subs, right? And then instead of doing this, we'll try it. And our input string is this now. Okay, this is not executing anymore. Here we go. Now it's executing again. I don't know. The watch didn't work. Okay, so we're getting this string and this. Now the question is, can we do it again? So let str subs equals boom. Right. Or how about we'll do let str equals md str subs equals that. And then we can just do this. If I do this now. That should work, right? Get rid of the last bit. Boom. So, first round does this. And now if we do it again, the second round doesn't do it any better. Okay, why? Matches. Am I not looking at the right string here? str, single asterisks. Oh, I'm an idiot. We gotta do this. Okay. So round 2, the string is now this. Matches, we have one new match with that on the inside, right? And now we're getting a third substitution, which replaces the first one. Oh yeah, of course, that's how it'll work, right? So these substitutions will also have to be done recursively, right? And then we'll do it again. And then the final is this. And now if I do it again, it comes back with matches 3. So the question is, so here we're gonna say if matches dot length equals 0, return false. Now the problem is if I return false here, we need to trust that the previous values haven't been modified, except they would, because that's our result, right? Unless we do something funky. So we'll probably want to check if things have changed. Or we have some separate call where we check is like, is there another round available? If we do this now, it'll eventually break. Or we'll have the subs up here. So we'll just say const subs equals broom, right? And here we can actually say let str equals d string subs blah blah blah. And then instead of doing this and this and this, we're gonna get rid of this. We'll do this. And we'll do this. Yeah, and then we don't need the starting thing here. We don't need this, right? And then we just say str equals boom. Right. So we start with this. We have an empty array. Then we get to this. Then we do it again. Do it again. And if we do it again, nothing changes, right? But if we actually output this as well, and then we just do that, eventually it'll come back as false, right? So then we can just say while right? And then we'll just do that, and that should do the trick. While get subs... Ah, wait, and then here we're going to return true. And then at the end, we end up with this. So this is basically what I have in mind, right? So now each of these individually can be easily parsed. None of these are complex, so we've basically removed the complexity, but we're now enabling nesting. The problem is it does rely on my personal interpretation of that, you know, the string cannot contain a single asterisk. Now, the problem with that is that we indeed want it to be able to contain a singular asterisk, right? What we don't want it to do is we don't want it to contain another valid version of this, right? So, because right now I'm just simply excluding the asterisks here. But we want to be able to have an asterisk inside a bolded string, right? But not necessarily an asterisk that has no space on one side and a space on the other. So the idea is like, okay, if you want to include a formula, the formula needs to be something like this. If you write the formula like this, then it'll close your bolding, right? And that'll give you some control to do it without clunky escape sequences, right? Which means I need to... Like, this gets more complex, I think. Because the other thing is, can I pull individual characters out that aren't part of these? So can I detect a character that isn't a special markdown character and do the substitution first, right? So can I say, okay, if I have an asterisk without spaces on either side, or with a space on the wrong side, because we want to allow spaces on the outside. So spaces on both sides aren't possible, because bolding white space doesn't make sense, right? So any asterisk that has spaces on both sides, we can actually substitute out. And we can have a list of things like that, right? So what are the most primitive things? And then we can pull them out into our substitution strings, and then we can just rinse and repeat, right? Because the question is, what am I going to do? Have an array of these regexes that I run through? Yeah, I guess so. Because now, for example, right, if we go back to our double asterisk, this guy, it'll get to here, but then it fails, right? So if we make a list of REs, right, and those will be one, and then we'll have more, right? I don't think we want to repeat this. We probably... Do we want to run... I'm trying to think. Do we want to run this whole function on a particular regex, right? So if I do this, and I do that, right, then we can get rid of that. And then instead of this, we'll just say for const re of regs. Then we'll do this, right? And now if I say we'll do a second one, but this one supports double asterisk, right? Like that. You see, now it goes further, but it stalls here, which is interesting. Why wouldn't it... Oh, because it'll... While this is true... Ah, no, because we want to keep going while any of them are still returning true. Okay. Ah, this is annoying. My poor brain. So, while any of them are still true, yeah, this needs to be inside that. So we now do something like function run re, run re's, regs, run regs. Right. So we do this. We'll do let res equals true. So we'll say res equals res and get sub re. That's one run with all of the regular expressions, right? And then, no, or if any of them are true, we'll continue. Turn res, right. So we can do run regs, right? Run regs true. So now we can do while run regs is true. And then at the end, while run regs. So that's just an infinite loop. Yeah. Turn res. So if any of them come back as true, let equals boom or log r res. So false, true. Oh, we start with true. Boom. Okay, that was the mistake. All right. Boom. Right? So now we have this with multiple different things, right? So now if I want to say we want to have inner 1 times 2, we want to have a mathematical equation in the middle, and with the spacing it shouldn't blow up, and this should be test MD1, right? So it cannot continue, but now we can say, okay, a singular asterisk with white space on either side is now a valid piece of exception thing. So we want to take this white space and this white space on either side of that. So this should now be this. And it should pull out that asterisk. Are we crashing out again? Nope. Res false. True. False. Very possible that I have an error in there. It should substitute. It substitutes the first one. No. Wait. It's not a not. It's a yes. Right? So now it'll pull out that asterisk. It'll then continue. And if I get rid of some of the spam, I might actually see what's going on. Okay, so we have this. So we have this substituted in here. And each of these now represents a singular thing. So as long as we can detect this case with formatting, which is, again, without a parser, relying on our sort of interaction with the other things. Didn't we have... Ah, yes. And if we do these double asterisks, like this, it should still work. Yeah. So each of these will now be a singular case of formatting that then can afterwards be rolled up and put back together. And I think that's how I have done this in the past. And here we can basically add any list of items. All they need to do is they need to be intolerant of nesting, basically, right? They must not allow nesting by their own nature, or they need to be in an order. So by putting this in there, this string will now be valid. It would still work if I allow an asterisk inside these, because it'll not happen. No, it would happen, right? Because obviously this regular expression, they start from the beginning, right? So it might try to do all of this. Now, the harder part is to say, okay, how do we disallow their own actual symbols, right? Like generically. And again, this is where a parser would come in. You'd say, okay, let's a tokenizer, right? You tokenize these asterisks in begin and end tags and things like that, right? But the question is, can you determine that purely from what it looks like? Now, I've kind of defined it so that you can, but in reality, what you want it in relative to a current state, like, are we inside a certain thing, right? No worries, Keith. Don't worry. I'm kind of currently fiddling around with from scratch building a basic Markdown parser for some very simple subset of Markdown to make sure I can make it robust and accurate. But you see, I'm getting very close to that size of that other parser. But the other parser would completely and utterly fail on this thing, right? The tiny parser that I had... Where is it? This thing, right? Because it's much more primitive in that regard. Now, I can probably optimize this a little bit. So, for example, like, I don't think I need these at all, right? Yeah, I can get, like, I don't need the outer capturing brackets because I ended up not using them, right? I don't need that. Oh, maybe I do. That works. Can I... Because the other way of doing this would be to have these included, but then use the other part, right? So if I say, instead of doing it this way, I can say... I was gonna say, if I just say, okay, instead of doing it this way, just capture a non-white space character like that, followed by our asterisk, followed by another non-white space character, right? So this would be a more compact way of saying it. And then I can say, okay, but the piece I'm interested in is this. But in this case, it actually only saves one item, one character. It might save more in more complex situations. What I would like to be able to do is generically define this symbol and have it not be included. But then I wonder if, for example, if the symbol is 2 asterisk, can it contain 1 asterisk? Now, we should have removed all the 1 asterisk cases already, but it might not work the way I would like it to work. So this is probably not what we want. Yeah, in fact, you see, it'll do that. And in fact, it's not just not white space. No, wait. It is... Sorry, it's not white space, it is white space. So if I say, okay, I want this surrounded by white space, but it's not technically just white space, it could also be, like, if there's a space between the asterisk and the S, so it's not necessarily just white space, but it could also be the edge of the text. So then you're starting to, then it will start to be like, oh, you know, you wanna have a list that includes white space, but maybe also this and this, and then suddenly your string gets more complex again. Like if I do this and I do this, what does it find? It does find that. And if I have the braces there, can I then pull element 1? IDX M matches. If I do this, the question now is, if I have a singular asterisk at the edge of the string, oops, like this, that won't be found, right? Because now I'll have to say this includes beginning of string or white space. Beginning of string or white space. And then I'll have to exclude that, and now before you know it, our string is starting to get really big. So then we'll have to do the same thing over here. And then we'll have to say, okay, this is now end of string or white space. And it'll work, but we're not saving anything compared to this version. Which, oh yeah, we gotta go back to this now. All right. Wait, but this version doesn't capture this one either. White space. Oh, okay. The other thing is to say non-word character, but white space. Because the other thing I can do is I obviously can define my own categories and then inject them as strings, and then overall the code might be smaller. But that might add complexity. If I do this, this. No, that's not grabbing it. So it'll have to be this with that. 2. Because now, if by the time I add that back in, maybe the other version is more compact. In fact, it is. So maybe we should do this and then pull out whatever is demarked. Because that gets both of them, right? So then if we want to change this one, right? We basically now say, okay, include everything. Yeah. It'll look like that. Single asterisks. But we want to actually include it from here till here. Boom. Single asterisks. But this version is a bit wonky now. So we probably need to output this a couple of times to see what's going on. Single asterisks in times 2. Wait, this isn't replacing this character correctly. 1 second. If I do this, what do I end up with? What the hell? Let's get rid of the starting asterisk here for a sec. What is it actually substituting? It finds this. And then it substitutes it here. Let's get rid of done. Get rid of that. What? It... Wait a second. It should now match the thing. We have this with the spaces. Here's the asterisks without the spaces. We're putting in that. Matches are now at 42. We have that. Subs.length. Sure. We're slicing. M.length. What's the nature of M? It's length 1. We're adding IDX, which now... okay, so now IDX is off. It is off by... yeah, because now IDX is off by the thing. We also want to do this in the same loop, right? So we don't want to really do that here. So we have our matches here. We're just going to do this, right? So let us look at these things. Position, 0, res, whatever, right? We have our match here. We're gonna look at this. So that gets us the string from the beginning to IDX. Now IDX isn't the start of M, it's the start of whatever, right? So M0, M1, right? And oh, JSON string. Oh, let me stringify it just so I get quotes in the right places. Yeah. So this doesn't include the space. Do we want to include the space? Can I determine how much of the regex happens before this? I don't know if I can. Because the index seems to show me the location of the whole match, not of the substring match. Does regex index show location of substring match or whole string? Yeah, so I feel like it's already not worth it. I'm adding a bunch of complexity here, which the other form of the regex didn't have. And I'm kind of probably prematurely optimizing. So I think I'll leave it in this format for now. And then we'll if we have, you know, at the end, if we want to optimize it, we'll do it at the end, right? So this should get us just a whole string match and no substring matches. We don't care about the substring matches, actually. Right. So this gets us a bunch of substrings which we don't care about. We get a whole string that should be 3 characters long. Ah, no, it's 1 character long, but now the index is 1 larger. Right. So now we should be able to... Let's just see if we can do this in the same loop. I don't think we need a second loop here. So sub's length would be 0. Right. And then we want to res push this. So that's res.push. So we have res, and we have subs. Right. And then subs.push is that. Actually, in the pause, we update afterwards. And this is going to be M0. Let's stick with that for now. No, let's just go back. We'll do it however we need to do it at the end. And now we know that the asterisk gets replaced by that. We don't need any of this other stuff. The only thing we need that at the end, we need to push 1 more onto res. Like that. So now we have single asterisk, blah, blah, blah. We have... Wait. Single asterisk. Then we have our substitution thing. Yeah. So we kind of want to just... don't actually care about res itself. We'll have res.join. So that's not our full string, which just means the asterisk gets substituted by that. And that's it. Right. And now we can basically just do that. Boom. Res.join. Don't need to output these. And we're going to return true, except now that'll be an infinite loop, I think. My god, the infinite loops don't seem to cause it much stress. Okay. How do we detect if we don't have any matches? Because we're never using this matches array either. Match. No match. True. No match equals false. Then I can say console.log no match. No match. No match true. Return. So we could just say if no match, return false. Boom. If match found, we'll do it inverse. False. Match found. True. If match found, we'll do this. And then return match found. Oops. Okay. Boom. Right. Just so we know we're not in an infinite loop, because one is hiding that from me. This doesn't look right. We have subs. We have res.join. We are if match found. We're doing these. Res.push, string res.join, and subs.push. If we have no res match found, we know that there is no subs and nothing, and we don't want to modify the string either. Right. And what's the res like here? Ah, wait. We only do that here. That's confusing. Right. So we have our reses. We have our reses as a string. And that's our final output at the end here as well. Run regs. There we go. We have the string and the substitutions. Okay. Now, if I get rid of these, and this, and actually all of this, and now I re-add these back in. Okay. I'm gonna make it a little smaller, have longer lines. We don't actually need to do this now. Boom. Go bigger again. So we end up with this, and we end up with these substitution patterns, and they should all be individually formatable, right? So now the idea is that I should be individually be able to transform each of these to HTML. Yeah. And then afterwards, I can just substitute them in iteratively until we're back to the original string. And we never have to deal with more than one formatting specifier in one of these. And the nice thing is I can add to this list. Now, this doesn't look very nice because I feel like, you know, that's 2 kilobytes already. I haven't actually implemented anything yet. These aren't super compact, right? But for example, I know these two are very similar. So I can just say, hey, you know, between 1 and 3 of these. Now, what I can't do is I can't pair them up, right? So can I match, like, can I say, so if I say this, can I then say $1? Matches $1. Matches the results of capture group 1. So if I output match, and let's go back to just doing one of these, or maybe specifically do not that one, but we're gonna do this one. And then back here, we're actually gonna match 0, which is this one, right? We probably need to do this still. So that matches that one, and then we don't get another match. What about 1? Ah. And that gets us the full match here. So with that, we can actually... I don't have to specify this twice, right? So this should match the double asterisks like this, and the single asterisk like that. Now, does that mean we want to do that here as well? Probably, right? Or any number of asterisks, actually, right? We just want to match any number of asterisks that have spaces in both. Because that's the other thing, right? It's like, what happens if you have 1 asterisk and then 4 asterisks and then a word? Like, is that some sort of nesting? Or is it something we want to ignore? Because this would fail, right? I have a piece of, oh, I'm going to say skin. It's just skin. What if I say 1 or more? So for example, if we now have this, yeah, it'll still pull that out. But if I add another asterisk here, that'll break. Yeah, because it doesn't match up. And it'll break early. So this is actually a good way for it to break. Now, yeah, okay. So if we now go back to our specification-ish thing, right? I think we actually kind of want to, because this helps us a lot to kind of simplify this a little bit, right? Simplify, 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 simplify. And now the question becomes, okay, so I want to do probably a simple version of the transformation part of this algorithm now, right? And I'm also thinking, like, can I, the multiple regular expressions, can I simplify that somehow? Probably should be able to, right? Huh. But at least like this, they're not hard-coded. And this string we can modify, right? So this could be, you know, more complex than that. The other question is, how do I want to handle the substitution now? I'm thinking, like I'm thinking, okay. So for example, if we say output out, let's say we'll say output, right? And we'll just match them up. So every element here has an out, and the out will literally just have an array or maybe an object, right? And then we'll have prefix. No, like this one will basically be verbatim, right? So that'll be a null, right? And then the second one will be, but you see now here we have a problem, right? Because if I do it 1, 2, 3, it's not a problem. If I have these as 3 separate individual things in this regular expression list, in other words, if I do this, you know, we'll have to do 1, 2, 3, but it makes our code size much larger, right? But then I could just simply say, okay, this is bold, italic, whatever, and it pairs up to these, right? Because I don't want to have a whole extra rematching for the actual formatting after we've done the substitution part, right? We could probably put them in here. So we have the regular expression as our first element. And then in here, we're just pulling out the regs. What do we call these? What do you call them? Symbols? Symbols? Or replacements. Boom. Yeah, let's call them regs for now. So here we're actually gonna do RE0. That should still work, right? And then here we can just have nothing, and then here we can have if it's an array, I don't know. We can just do this, right? So our prefix, or actually our parser would just be a function then, I think. In this case, it would be relatively easy. We could just say, hey, the first character is either 1, 2, or 3 asterisks, right? So the parser would just be a function like that. Boom. Boom. Parse, boom. str. Right. And then after we've done this, we basically want to run each substitution individually. Is that okay? Can we just parse each one individually and then do the replacements? Yes, I guess that's kind of the point, right? So for sub of subs, right? We'll do this, boom, 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 right? And then we'll do, but we don't know which one we actually matched against. Whoops. Wait. I think the order in which they get added, because they get never modified, right? So at this point, subs.push m, we could literally just do this for now and forget this. Right. And then just say, or RE0 1 R01 FN, right? Then we'll say FN, and here we're just gonna say, okay, let's for now we're just gonna say this, we're just do this, right? And then here we'll just do FN M. Yeah. And we have this, okay. Then we'll just say, we'll do something like this. CR dot blah, 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 blah. Starts with, can I do this? False, false, false. Starts with 2. Okay. So if we'll do this, if it starts with thing, else other thing, right? And then we'll say, okay, so 2R bold. We'll just do something like this. And that'll be our str. Let's just change that to S. Something like that. Starts with double asterisk. We should get strong. I'm not seeing strong here. What? Why is it not all false? Oh, I'm still using str. Okay. So, then I guess we'll have a fall through. We'll have this. And that'll be emphasis. Right? Emphasis. That gets us an EM. Yeah. And this one just is a straight pass through. So we can just do this for now. We'll just do a return. Like this. And we'll don't even need to return. Right? Boom. And now we don't want to do a reverse of the substitutions. And in fact, we don't need to store the original substitutions here either. So we can just do this. Right. So, and now we can go so str so we kind of want to do the same thing we did here. So while that, and the regular expression now is at \d plus at basically. And the G. Okay. Why is this never ending? Why? While match. is not equal to null. Shouldn't that pass on to the next one? Oh, because our regular expression here is okay. I'm gonna put this in a function. Well, no, not for now. But yeah. RE. Yeah, the RE object is actually getting modified, right? So if I create a new one on the fly, it's actually gonna break. Very silly of me. Don't need that anymore. So we should now be able to do this. This, right? Parse int this. And now we should be able to look into subs. Actually, we don't need to parse it. Right. Can we do this as a replace call? Maybe. If I do str.replace, and if I don't do this, re args, I'll do something like this, args. Yes. So if I do args1 like that, but you know, so we'll just say m1, and then I do this. So what happened here? It took 1 and it substituted this and then it did this. Okay. Now, if I do this again, if I say str equals blah, 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 this, and then I'll do str, and then I do this a second time, it's that. And if I do it a third time, it's that. And if I do it fourth time, it's that. And if I do it fifth time, it's that again. So we basically repeat this until our string doesn't change anymore. Except we don't know when it will change. Right. So if I do re.test str true, right? And then if we do this again, boom, 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 eventually it becomes false, right? So what we really want to do is while retest str, we'll do this. And then at the end, we'll do that. And then we don't need any of that. And that should get us the final formatted string. And I think that's correct. Don't even need the match. This is a const now because I don't think we're caring about the state on it. Don't need that. We can probably unloop that. Like, does it make sense to put this in a function? So if I say const equals true, and then I'll say while cont, and we'll say cont equals false, and then we'll do this, and then we'll say cont is that or that, let. And then that's that. I get rid of that function, which we don't need. Alright. That's just that. That's fine. We'll do that. Out we don't use, I'm pretty sure. And that's all we have so far. Can I do something like throw new error? Probably not. Yeah. Pity. Huh, okay. This can go to the top. Right. That's not too crazy big. These can be out here. Well, for now, let's put them inside the parser. Anything else there? This one should be here. Because we're not using it earlier. And then at the end, we just do a replacement here with the substitutions. And that gets us that. So that's an interesting start. Let me have a quick look at what the current version actually does, right? So if I look at this, and I look at the converted output here, so it uses strong and emphasis. Okay, so this is kind of here. There's probably going to be ways I can simplify this a little bit. I'm a bit annoyed by this part. Let's have another look at the tiny parser, how it deals with that. Does it have separate things for these? So if I look at the inline ones, text, like how does it make it so compact? Extras. Okay. So it counts how many there are. Inline text. Inline text. So it parses it in a nested fashion? Wait, what? The P. What is the P function? P, text rules parse. Text rules parse. An inline is an application of these rules and the inline parser, which is a nested call? What? Ooh, okay. That seems clever and above my head. And the rules are defined by a regular expression and the substitution function, which is kind of this. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, this isn't actually smaller than this, is it? This rule is simpler because it doesn't have the spacing requirements, right? Which is also what breaks is. And he does the \1, but I'm saying, hey, you can't have any additional asterisks behind after that. He also seems to allow asterisks on the inside. Yeah, this is just inaccurate parsing, basically. Let's have a quick look if somebody had... they don't even accept... There's no issues. Okay. Maybe the one that it's forked from has issues. Breaks the HTML. Set target for links and chance to reconsider. What's the license for this? And incorporate a GPL license piece in my open source software. Using a more permissive license. If you use GPL 3 for this, I will update my small libraries to okay. Readme image broken, free instead of free. Link issue still happening. Show formatted, console dog is in the output. Underscores. Inline code block makes parser fail. Gravitation comments on p tags. Heading should be H1 through H6 text. Cursor should be... I mean, I guess since it's HTML, I can just format it. I can deal with that there. Does he say anything about how close to the standard he wants to be? Doesn't really say much, right? And to be fair, I can't say now that my code is actually particularly smaller. I mean, it's probably smaller than 1K. Like, the test is pretty close, actually, and that's unminified. Okay. But so far, it doesn't actually do very much. Although it does the bowling, right? That's kind of the main thing we care about. What was the 3* one that we had? Bold and italics. Okay, so we'll probably want something like this. Then it'll be strong and EM. And then this will be our else case here. Boom. It shouldn't have that third case. So we can actually, yeah, since it doesn't have a third case, we can actually do this. I wonder if there's a smaller version of starts with. And what's the shortest way of getting the first, the length of asterisks at the beginning of the string? Because then I could turn this into an array with indexes. If I do this, I do this, right? It'll just output these. Okay, so this I can use for debugging. Because now I can say s dot match backslash asterisk plus actually this. Like that. Like that. Right, and then we can say 0.length. That gets us a number between 1 and 3. And if I subtract 1, and then use it as an index into a predefined array, like that, that contains these 3 options. Option 0, option 1, and option 3. Not sure if it's actually, like, this is quite a long string. I don't know if it's actually better than this. 0 em asterisk, em strong. And then if we say triple here, around that 1. So the 1 now will be strong and emphasized, right? So now the question is, can I define this without the S? Probably not. But we can now just do this. Like that. And then we can get rid of all of this. Yeah, that seems better-ish. Is there something else I can do with this? Like, I'm thinking if I have these as tags. So for example, let's say we'll do tags, right? And then these will be our 3 versions, and we can just say something like this. The start tag and the end tag in an array like that. Something like that. Right, and then we'll have strong and EM. Or, actually, we could probably get away with just doing this. Right, and then strong. Because I was going to say, adding the other bits around it is actually kind of trivial, right? It's only on the third one that it's a problem. I'm micro optimizing already again, because I was thinking like, okay, the problem is this is not a tag. Do I need to parse the 3 ones separately, or is this just a nested? That is the question, right? So if I change this to 2, will that still work? I'm not sure. No, because it doesn't allow for asterisks on the outside. Ah. Ah, that's annoying. Okay. Am I actually? Yeah, I'm over. I'm over optimizing. All right, let's just do this version first. Although this, it feels like it's adding more than this. Can I put these up here somewhere? Like if I do this, this is gonna compile. Yeah. JavaScript template strings. There is a way of defining template strings as literals. Tag function. Backtick, yeah, blah blah. So how does this work though with this tag function? If specified, it will be called with the template string array and substitution expression, and the return value becomes the value of the template literal. See tagged templates. My tag. Person is a age. Person is a age. That person is an age. So if I do something like tags, and I say const tag equals args, log tag args, and then I'll put tag here. What does that do? S is not defined. Tag backtick person age. Tag template. More advanced form template are tag templates. Tags allow you to parse template literals with a function. The first argument of a tag function contains an array of string values. The remaining arguments are related to the expressions. The tag function can then perform whatever operation on these arguments you wish to return. Like this is straight up. But it still expects these variables to exist ahead of time. JavaScript define template strings ahead of usage. And we do this. Can I define these ahead of where they're being used? Also not defined using scale. And values interpolation. Here's how you define templates ahead of usage. Define the base template string. Create a template, assign a template literal to it. This template can include placeholders using the expression syntax. This doesn't seem to be true. Must be in scope. Well, you can define the template string ahead of time. The actual string interpolation happens when you construct the final string using backticks. Meaning what? What? Yeah, so you can't define this ahead of time. Can I define the ahead of usage? I don't think that's possible. Yeah. Template vars, template string, this dot name, template string, build template. Yeah, but this is not using it. Yeah, this is silly. This is silly. Although, can I... If I return an array... Can I do this? And then I can just say... Tag sub. You can just do this, boom, tag sub. Ah, wait. Tag sub is an array like this. No, like this. No, wait. God damn it. Because this doesn't return an array. We want something like this. Right? And then I can say tag sub this. And it'll return a function. ns s.match. Ah, god damn it. It's I don't know. Alright. Forget it. Forget it. We'll deal with that another time. For now, this is fine. Or maybe we'll do this. Maybe that makes more sense to future me. Okay. I probably can minify this further. We'll probably also want to make this more general. But this is potentially a solid foundation. I mean, I haven't dove too deep into the other bits of Markdown standard I want to be able to support. I mean, this is kind of the core stuff. URLs I'm already doing separately, and I might just roll that code into this one. There's a couple of other items we wanted to do, like blocks and inlines, leaf blocks, container blocks, inlines, right? We definitely want to do some code stuff, and we want to do env in strong env. So nesting, okay, env in strong. Markdown syntax says Markdown treats asterisks underscores as indicators of emphasis. Text wrap will be wrapped with an HTML. This is enough for most users, but these rules leave much undecided, especially when it comes to nested emphasis. Origin Markdown PL test makes it clear that triple and under can be used to strong emphasis. Also allow the following patterns. Yeah, so mine should support this. Actually, I'm not sure it does. Yeah, mine doesn't actually support this. Because it'll look for another triple. Env with env in it. But the intent is clear and they're useful, especially in context of bibliography entries. How would I support something like this? Especially when there's a triple dot somewhere on the far side, right? I guess it would have to find this one first. I'm wondering now if I can actually remove that requirement or not asterisks on the outside. Like, is this still functional? Could I now say this? EM, outer, EM. No. Why not? Because it now finds them individually. God damn it. That's the problem, right? With regular expressions, I can't tell it to find the largest one first with all this other stuff going on inside here. It'll just find the single ones. Oh, yeah, no, this doesn't actually make sense either. I'm wondering, by making this greedy, which, how do I make it greedy again? Question mark? Wait, regx greedy. No, they are greedy already. Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot more complex if I want to do that, if I want to support that. And then we're back to like, okay, am I going to build a parser or not? All right, left flank delimiter is a delimiter on this one from a Unicode's white space and either to a... Oh, okay. The rules given below capture all these patterns while allowing for efficient parsing strategies that do not backtrack. First, some definitions of the delimiter run is either a sequence of one or more. Many players have also restricted intra-word emphasis to the asterisk form to avoid unwanted emphasis in words containing internal underscores. It is best practice to put these in code spans. Often do not. No emphasis. Okay. Is a delimiter run that is not followed by either. Ah, okay. So this is kind of what I'm doing, right? Is a not proceed by Unicode riser and not proceed. Left flanking, right flanking. Okay. But not left flanking. Okay. Both left and right flanking. Yeah. The left flank and right flank runs based on the characters before and after the character. After from Rupish characters. Use the term emphasis indicator string instead of delimiter run. Is rules for steering left and right flanking runs are a bit more complex than the ones given here. If and only if it is part left flank delimiter run, a single character can open. Okay. All right. I mean, ideally, I'd find a parser that does this. But I suspect it's not a simple problem, and once you go beyond what I'm doing, you'll very quickly just have to build a parser, a full-on tokenizer, which is doable and potentially quite compactly as well. Like a kilobyte is maybe not beyond what you can do in JavaScript. Let's have a quick look at the other rules in terms of strike through and all that. Where was that? What were we looking at earlier? Not this. Not this. This doesn't actually have that. Maybe I want to look at what... Ah, here we go. Underline and strike through. I think I'd like to have strength through. Underline and emphasis. Always preparing at the beginning. So let's see if we want to do underline for a sec. Ah, tags I'm not actually using now, right? So I can just get rid of that. Right, it'll still work. So if I say squiggly here, squiggly there, I can now do a rule based on these things with a squiggly. And what was the other? Double squiggly. So we have the same sort of idea, but with squigglies instead of asterisks. So 1,3. White space, no squigglies. Squigglies. Something like that. And then some such. Right, but with squigglies. Like that. Okay. Single asterisk. Now the squigglies are... Did I translate this correctly? Not followed by a squiggly. Not preceded by a squiggly. Has 1, 2, 3 squigglies. Tilts, sorry. And then for now, we're just gonna say XX. Okay, that's not happening. Maybe we want to output these again. So, does it ever find the squigglies? It does not seem so. Is this a problem? Yeah, so by having this in one rule, it means it'll find this first, and then it won't apply other rules to what's in the rule. What's been substituted out. So, does that mean I have to kind of do this? And 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 don't actually have that. And now it'll find... Does it find the asterisk? Eventually. No. Because we're doing this. Ah. And now we're back to some other situation. Let's do this again. We've done this spiel before. Gonna get rid of the noise here. Huh? Why does it not squigglify here? White space. Asterisk. Oh, because of this. Shoot. We need to figure out the first character of this. Sugar. What if I do... Like, if I do this, if I do a look ahead, one character, that, and we'll output match again. Do we find... We'll do this one first. Let's skip this one for now. And let's just get rid of this altogether. Right. We're gonna stretch these out. Input single asterisk, group undefined, match the one. You know what? Let's just do this for here, for now. Okay, so this, it just doesn't match it at all. Why? Why, oh, why? La da da. Okay, we're gonna have to use the regexer again. Nope, where's the regexer? Oh, there it is. So that's our test string. Put that in here. We're gonna put that up here. Unmatched opening parentheses. Parentheses, all right. Do this. Boom. Error, unmatched opening parentheses. Yeah, where are these coming from? All the way to there. I see. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. So that matches all of these. I put that there. And I want to say this is our 1, 2, 3. Right. So we have match 1, group 1. But oh shit. We cannot do. Wait, can I match one of these? Ooh, okay, wait. Can I just match one of these? And then 1 or 2 more of these? Can I do that? Let's get rid of that for a sec here. No match. If I capture group this, still no match. Ah, 0 to 2 more. Ah, aha. Because now we know that it'll only match multiple of these. So for example, if I want to do this, okay. So we want to do a look ahead that is not \1. Does that work? Does that work? Matches the results of capture group 1. We have a negative look behind. So we want something that doesn't have whatever's in here ahead of it. If I get rid of this. Warning, that feature may not be supported in all browsers. Okay, sure, but God damn it. Negative look behind with capture groups. Can we not look behind on the capture group? Look ahead. Grade was correct, but you need to add that you cannot appear anywhere in the string. Okay, so if we do so what if I do this? If I capture whatever character is here, and then I'll say negative look ahead. Right?
The problem is, it doesn't fit for the first character. If I do this, nope. If I do this, still doesn't get that first asterisk. Is it just because of this? It is. So this doesn't count as not that.
Aw, man. Are you kidding me? That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. I mean, there are ways around it. By pre-processing the string, basically, I can add some character in front of the string and then just pull them back out. Like add a space at the beginning of the string. So you never have to deal with the beginning of string issue. That's annoying. And I can't just do that, huh? Why can't I just... I'm not trying to do too much in one regex, but if I split it out, then my parser will inflate massively. Not one. All right, we'll go back to this. That does work. So we're saying we're capturing a digit, character. We're making sure the next character is not the character we just captured. Then we capture another character. And now we'll capture another 0 to 2 of those. But now that only gets us these. All right, we'll have to get rid of the preceding character, of course. Then we want no white space, like that. Right. Then we want something that isn't \2. So we want something that's not \2. Any number of those. Any number of those. No. A non-zero number of those. Right? Wait, what? Matching group 1 is not available. What are you talking about? What are you even talking about? Can't we do something that is any number of not match an SX character, char code 2. Oh no, wait. Escape. Match any number of not capture group. Match any number of capture group. It's one of those things where the AI doesn't get the meaning of what I'm trying to do. Like this makes sense, right? But how do I negate that? Regex. How to match any number of characters that are not a previously captured character. How to. Okay, so this is supposedly working? Because it's not working for me. Okay, well, that's what I tried. Escape character, mission SX character. Backslash inside character inside regex character class doesn't imply capture group due to escape. It becomes a scan as a backslash regular expression. The regular class does not create a capture group. Capture groups are defined by the character class. The backslash serves two purposes. Yeah, except in the other window, you've said something different. Pattern allowing for back reference, literal string use, and captures it as a group. Allowing for while backslashes are crucial to define. Regex back reference inside character class. Cannot be used inside character classes. God damn it. You got to go match character that is not the same as the previous capture character or match space, right? Negative. So a dot that does not immediately follow the same character is followed by the same character condition expression if supported by the regex engine. All right. Can we capture a character that is not backslash 2 any number of times? What do we get now? Single asterisk. Single asterisk. That doesn't make sense. Single asterisk. Oh, and now we'll do the other side, right? So we do not. Well, we can't be preceded here because we can't have it in here at all. So we don't need to do that. I don't even know why that is here. It's the white space we got to worry about on this side, right? So now we don't want any white space. So we don't want white space. We don't want any white space. Then we want this, which should be backslash 3. Then we want backslash 3. The problem is this acts like an overlapping asterisk and an overlapping tilde. Yeah, I want neither one allowed on the inside. I want to get the S first, and then that would get pulled out. Okay. So, let's try this again. Okay, whatever. Come on. So we'll grab the first character. Then we'll make sure we don't see it again. No, blah blah blah. So we want a character that isn't the next character. Then we're gonna grab an asterisk or a tilde, and we're just gonna have this character class one time. We're gonna grab one of those, and then we're gonna grab another one. Like that. Maybe. We'll grab it again. 0 to 2 more times. 0, 1, or 2. Why is that suddenly not working? Okay. Then we want a not white space character. And then we want neither of those again. So not a specific one, but either of them. So we want not either of those a number of times. Null is not an object. Input, so we're getting asterisks here. Okay. And now on the far end, I hope I didn't screw things up. On the far end now, we want 1, 2, 3. We want exactly 3. And then followed by not \2. Right? And that gets us an asterisk here. Unfortunately, with this look ahead, can I make this a look ahead? We don't want this situation happening. Can I, Ugh. Wait, okay, can I do this? This should get me a look ahead where I take a digit, or a symbol, a character, and then I make sure the next character isn't that character, and then I grab one of these. Okay. But if I do this, re.match str. If I do this, right? str.match re. God damn it. Null. This doesn't match at all. How is that possible? How is that possible? So we should match something. God damn it, my brain. We want a character that isn't followed by itself. Hey, Poochie. Hey, babe. Ooh, can I do something slightly different? So what if I grab this character first, and now I say I don't want 2 of these to the left. I don't want this twice. Okay. But then I allow it 0 2 more times. What if I do double asterisk? I feel like I'm testing a lot against that. Okay. Then we don't want white space. That's what's next, right? No white space. And then we want a bunch of these that aren't that. And then we want another one of, now we want A2. Ah, look at that. So it finds this, except it shouldn't. It shouldn't find that. In fact, it doesn't. Wait, what? Like, I see why this fails. I don't see why this doesn't fail. I mean, that also fails. What if I just had this? Like, that doesn't even match. Wait a second, why does that not match? This doesn't match that. Wait, what? Oh, wait, yeah, because that becomes 1 and that becomes 2. So the singular character is actually 2. And then that is 1. So it matches this whole thing. Which is good. That seems right. If we do this, it'll match this. So, blah, 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 blah. We want to match if I do say something like match from the start one of these characters, or actually we know now that the first character should be this, and now we're gonna say we'll say we'll say this one again 0 to 2 more times. And now I can index that into a crazy little object that looks something like this. For example, right? If I do this, if I do this, and then I can do strike. Strike. basically. Minus that. Minus that. Minus the symbols. Shoot. How do I get rid of those symbols now? If I do this, and then I'll say \2 $, and I'll probably want to output this as well. Let's see what we got here. Gets us this. And then I can do this. One sec. I'm gonna get rid of that. See if I can make sense of it. Okay. Can I do... Or... Wait a second. If I do this... And then do args here. Maybe I'll already get what I need. Input asterisk. Asterisks. If I grab this as well, boom. And then here we said we didn't, we don't care what's on the outside. No, we care that on the outside we don't have a \2 that we do care about. And we don't want white space on the inside. So we don't want this on the left. Okay. Then we get that. So we have the total string and we have the inner string. We can get rid of all the other stuff, but we can do something like A, B, C, D. That's only a couple of characters. Right. And then we can say A, B, C, D like that. A, B, C, D. And we want to do this. Wait. Sorry. I do this. Args. Args. And if I say args, just giving me that one string. Wait a second, where am I getting all the other stuff from? F and N M. Okay, wait a second. I can manipulate that here. I can just say 3. And now we're getting asterisks like this. Then we can go back to S, boom. No, because, god damn it. Because we still need the symbols, right? 0, A, 1, B, A, B. I just don't want to have to run a second regex for that. A, B, A, B, 3. So now we can match against A, but we can substitute against B. That's the whole freaking point. Okay. So we get rid of that. Get rid of that. Now we're gonna do this against A. Boom. But this is gonna be B. And that gets us I don't know what I'm looking at. Where's out? Okay. This is, if I get rid of all of this, it's still broken. Out. That's what's broken. Can we just get rid of all of this for a sec here? M is not defined. Out. Okay. Now, we'll do this again. Out. Null. What do you mean out null? Are you kidding me? What the frick are you talking about? Out. Asterisks. We want to match from the start the first character right, followed by 0 or more of itself. Okay. Followed by, why is there a /2 here? That makes no sense. Oh, no. Okay. How is this possible? Okay, so 0 dot length. No, not dot length. Just that. Okay. So, don't know why I was doing that. That makes no sense. Oh, did I want to verify that it also exists at the back? No, don't need to do that. Don't need to do that. Wait, what? No, we need to do that. Right, we need to do that. And now it should get us this. Null is not an object. I'm driving myself crazy here. Oh, no. What? It was working. Just appear. What am I doing wrong? Is it because of the dollar? Oh, is this because of the dollar? Okay, wait. If it's just because of the dollar, we just remove the dollar. No. M is not defined. Out. Here we go. Here we go. So, we should be able to do this now. Like that. Like that. N is not defined. Oh. Data length. Oops. Let's call this A and this M. M for the full match, A for the third capturing group or whatever. No, M. And the length. Okay. So, single asterisks. So what should we get? We have these guys here, which is problematic. I'm still so confused. So it first hits asterisks. Okay. Which gets substituted here. Which just goes here. So it starts out with single this, and the asterisk goes into the thing. And now it fails utterly because I haven't finished setting it up. So then we want to do double asterisk, something like that. We also do want to do now this console.log boom, comma, boom, comma, boom. And we want to output this. Key. So key, single tilt, double asterisk. The double asterisk becomes the XX. But the double asterisk, we already know, is supposed to be these guys, right? So we'll do a single one and a double one, and the single one is EM, and that'll be S. So this will be M, and this will be S. So A is M, this is S, M, S. So now we can just index them by these. Same with this. Like that. Oh, these need to be backticked. Bada bing, bada boom. Single strike, asterisk, strike, strong. Okay. And if we go back to this, single strike, asterisk, outer, blah, 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 inner, string, done. And then we can do double, right? And I think single was supposed to be strike. Strike through. Strike through. Where did I specify this? Somewhere. Mark down, strike through. So it's double squiggles is strike through. HTML strike through. Several ways. So strike through MDN del. Okay. So squiggle is del and mark down strike through underline. So that's underscore. So del and MDN underline. Articulated annotation. Way that it has non-textual connotation. HTML underline. The span of annotation should be rendered as non-textual annotation, underline text. Semantic meaning is each refers its annotation purposes. Custom underline. Okay. Maybe we can use the U tag. So if I do this, we end up with dilute del. Okay. We can probably get rid of this now. And now we have multiple cases that we can easily handle here, which is actually quite elegant. If this regex is correct. We also want to do this at the same time. And now, at the end, we end up with this, which isn't correct at all. Okay, where does this fall down? Single outer inner. Is it because of the triple asterisks? Ah, wait, but we should be handling it triples, right? We have 1 here, and then 0 to 2 more here. So we should be handling triple. Are we though? Probably not, right? I'm guessing that's what's wrong. If I get rid of this, it doesn't seem to get to 3. Change this to 3. 2. We're saying we don't want the next to be... Wait, what? This is a look ahead. Oh, yeah, okay. And now we want to have 0 or more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not /1. Wait a second. What am I getting wrong here? /1 is all of this, not followed by /2, which makes sense, right? Let's have one more round at the regexer, and I'm gonna have to start end the stream soon. Hearing the sounds of me being finished. Okay, so got this right. Let's start from here. So, why does it get us only that? Because we're starting with this. Up to 3. Why does that not work? It's saying, give me one of these symbols where the next 2, no, this is supposed to be like this. And then /2, 0, 2. Oh. What did I get it that wrong? Maybe? Single, asterisk, em outer, strong, deleted. I gotta see this in HTML. Yeah, I'll log in quickly here. So if I do this, and we'll just put that in here, what does that look like? Single asterisk outer, outer 2 in, inner, string done.
Does that correspond even vaguely with what we're trying to write here? So we want this underlined. We want this whole thing emphasized, right? Then we want this to be left alone. We want one to be bolded and emphasized. We want, but it won't show because we're already doing the whole thing outside. The Ute is struck out. Yeah, that seems to work. Okay, that's actually a way of doing it, and I think it's fairly robust because we have the multiple iterations. And we have these intermediate results, but then that gets us the final string. Now, this doesn't care about multi-line stuff yet, and it's only doing inline. And it does handle the individual ones here separately. Should I do the same thing for the tildes? So in other words, should this be asterisk tilde? So any number of asterisks and tildes surrounded by spaces on both sides. Or can I leave this off because the rest doesn't actually capture it. So it will be treated as just a plain string. And but it won't get substituted, I believe. Is that why I need to do this? Yeah, I guess it doesn't handle the rest then. So we need to substitute these out so we can then move outwards, right? So this is kind of like an empty version of this in a way, except it works for an odd number of symbols as well. Yeah, it's almost like as if this was escaped, right? We'd first any escape sequence we'd pull them out in the same way, and then in the end we end up with this. Do we still need to put these spaces in there? Maybe not. Yeah, that still seems to work. Okay. And code is still fairly compact. And we can extend this sequence quite a bit and quite easily. Don't know if I can. Thinking if I can probably stick this in a function, but it probably won't save me any characters. Let me just quickly check something. If I run this through a minifier, like if I run this through something like this, put that in here, and say minify, and then the actually let's do this. How big is that? This is 649 bytes. So it's almost a kilobyte already, and it doesn't do any of the other things. The other parser does a lot of extra things. I'm curious where I lost a lot. Probably doing this looping thing. But to be fair, I'm also doing a bunch of stuff the other parser doesn't do at all in terms of nesting and that kind of stuff. So this is actually a solid start. And I'm tempted to go with this, even if it's one of my typical tech depth things, but at least I understand what it does. I know its limitations. I can exactly specify what it's doing, and I can take it from there. I mean, this is all about putting something out there that is useful to people initially, to test it out in principle rather than in the detail, right? Obviously, everybody's going to say, oh, can you support this format, this format, this format? But I think by taking it slowly like this, it'll be faster to get something useful into the hands of setters. And I think that's the real value here. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it because things are happening behind me and it's getting super late. It's almost 10. All right. I hope this will be, well, it's already in beta, but I hope this will replace what's in beta soon. And then I have more confidence that it's actually going to make it into production eventually. What we haven't really thought about more is how exactly to trigger the special formatting. But that's not really a technical problem. That's just a decision-making problem, which is arguably the harder problem. Anyways, in the meantime, thanks for hanging out. Take care. Have a good rest of your weekend and or day. And see you next one. Bye-bye.